Hello, and thank you so much for joining me for a Bunco. I'm super excited to show you guys the projects that I've designed for the Rise and Shine Bunco. We have this really bright and fun card using both the Cup of Cheer stamp set from the Christmas catalog. It is retired, but the dies that go along with it have stayed. The dies are called Cup of Cheer dies, so these ones are carrying over. And then during celebration, we have a new set called Rise and Shine that coordinates with that same Cup of Cheers die set. So I'm super excited. I've kind of combined the old with the new and some of the dies. Now, if you don't have the old set, don't worry. You can make up for it by just using some of the Rise and Shine stamps, okay? So I have already done all the die cutting for you, so hopefully you won't have to do any on your own. And I'll show you the projects. So again, we have this really bright and beautiful, fun card here. This one I cased directly from the catalog samples. I just thought this was super cute and I love the sentiment. So I'll show you how to make this one. And then lastly, I have this really fun coffee cup that you can fill with some treats and give to a friend. And then there's just a little tag that says Rise and Shine. So let's go ahead and get started working on these projects. I'll show you what comes in your kit. You should have 2 envelopes and you should have a bag for the coffee cup. So let's go ahead and start with the first card, which is going to be our gray card. Inside your envelope, you should have everything you need for this project. So you will have a piece of designer series paper. It's actually free with a $50 purchase right now for the end of celebration. So that's exciting. All the measurements for these cards and projects are on the project sheet, the tutorial that I mailed out to you guys. So you have all the measurements that you need. I also cut out a stitched rectangle for our Whisper White for the coffee cup that we're going to stamp. I have a little tag that I cut out from the Cup of Cheer dies. So there is a little tag here. My dies are kind of a hot mess right now, but there's a little tag and there's also a little bow, which I've gone ahead and cut out for you. So you have your little bow. You have another stitched rectangle that's in the shape of our sentiment here. So you have that to stamp on. Okay, so these are the 3 pieces that we're going to need to stamp on. Let me go ahead and get them out here. Now for the stamping, let's start with our little tag. So we have this cute little heart tag. This is in the Rise and Shine stamp set. So it has this cute little heart tag. Be mindful of the direction that you're stamping it. So mine is, the way that I cut out my tag, I made sure that my stamp is on there because this is a reversible image. My tag could be facing either direction. So just make sure that when you stamp it, that the end of your tag is facing the right way for your heart to be up in the right direction. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, let's go ahead and take our crushed curry ink pad, which is the color that coordinates with the designer series paper. And we are going to ink up that little tag. But crushed curry is a very dark yellow, so we're going to stamp off once on our scrap of paper. And then we're going to line up over the tag. Now hopefully you can't see my head in the camera, and hopefully I'm doing a decent job of lining up. I think it's a little crooked. It is a little crooked, but that's okay. You can always flip it over and try again. We'll see which one I like the best. It is a little bit hard to line up after the fact, but I wasn't sure if you guys had the dies, so I wanted to make sure I cut everything out for you. Now, if you have the dies, you're welcome to cut out your own pieces after you stamp. But that is pretty good. I like that, so I'm going to go ahead and go with that one. All right. So that is, we still need the crushed curry, so let's go ahead and stamp our sentiment because we're going to do You've Got This, but first coffee. And the coffee is actually its own stamp. So that makes it really nice. It says You've Got This, but first coffee. And I need to grab the word coffee out. And put it on a little block so we have it. Okay. So the sentiment itself is stamped in Melon Mambo ink. So go ahead and stamp that on our little label here. Again, trying to make sure that it's straight. You've got this, but first, and then coffee's going to be in crushed curry, and I'm not going to stamp off once because I want coffee to be nice and dark. There we go. You've got this, but first coffee. All right, so that's it for these two colors. We no longer need Melon Mambo or crushed curry. Okay, so let's go ahead and put those away. Now, on this label here, we're going to stamp our coffee cup. And this is the coffee cup that has the little plus marks on them. I don't even know what that pattern is, but I took my Petal Pink ink, inked up my coffee cup here. Just make sure you have it nice and covered. Okay, so there's our Petal Pink coffee cup. Now we are going to take our smoky slate and our little smoky stamp, little steam stamp, and just stamp right above the coffee cup, just like so. Okay, now the last thing that we need to do is stamp the background of our cardstock. So make sure that your cardstock is burnished really well so it's laying as flat as possible. That's going to make it a little bit easier. And there are 2 flower stamps in the stamp set. There's a little one and a big one. So what you're going to do is ink up, I just put them together on a block, ink it up, and you're going to stamp the 2 across the your cardstock. Now, I recommend doing a stamp on and then a stamp off. So 2 generations of ink. So you can stamp once, but then stamp again. Let's see, how do I want this? Stamp again in the lighter version. And it's okay if it's like that because again, my cardstock's gonna cover it. So you're just gonna stamp all over your cardstock like so. Okay. And you just keep stamping along. You don't need to worry about the middle. Just keep stamping. I'm just gonna stamp off, and I think that's good. You don't need to do a whole bunch. Okay, that's it for the stamping. Now we get to assemble the card. It's super easy. We are going to put dimensionals on the back of our designer series paper. So I'm just going to use up the end of my dimensionals here. I just cut up the edges. Okay, so let's go ahead and put dimensionals in the 4 corners and some in the middle. Peel off the backing. And adhere this down to the middle of our cardstock. And you can see those boo-boos that I made are just covered up perfectly, so no one can tell that I messed up on some of my flowers. Okay, then we're going to take our piece of Whisper White that we stamped, excuse me. And we're just going to put some, you can put snail, you can put liquid glue, you can do whatever you want. And it looks like my liquid glue is about over here. Probably gonna have to get a new one. So you're just gonna slightly leave a little bit of an edge. You're not gonna have it all the way over the cards, over the designer series paper. So just leave a little bit of an edge over here. Okay, now let's take our label, our long label with our sentiment. We'll put this across with some dimensionals. Pop that up. Let's do one in the middle as well, just to give it some extra sturdy. All right, so let's go ahead and glue that across the page here. Now let's go ahead and take our label, do another dimensional on the back of our label. Now remember, this was the side I didn't like, so I'm going to do it on this side. put it right about here. And then I have this little bow that I'm going to put on with a dimension or with a glue dot. Oh, it ripped my bow. Of course it did. Sometimes these glue dots are really strong and you have to be really careful. So then we're going to take our bow and glue it down on our tag. And there you go. Card number 1, super easy, right? Really cute. You can totally do this card. So fun. And what a great pick-me-up. I would love getting a card like this. Okay, card number 2 is very bright and cheery. We're gonna love this card. Again, as I mentioned, 2 of these stamps are using stamps from the retired set, Cup of Christmas. So if you don't have this set, don't fret. You can absolutely substitute for the 2 stamps or the 2 cups that are in the Rise and Shine stamp set, okay? Inside your card, you have a lot of little pieces, so don't lose all your little embellishments. You should have 4 glitter enamel dots. You have a Calypso Coral, a Coastal Cabana, a Melon Mambo, a grape, Gorgeous Grape, and Granny Apple Green. You should also have 4 cups that I have cut out for you. 2 going with the handles going in one direction and 2 with handles going in the opposite direction. I did that ahead of time for you, but if it's too hard to line them up and you have the die set, you're welcome to cut after you stamp. But I went ahead and did that for those that don't have the die set. Okay, this is another piece of that designer series paper from the Silhouette. It starts with art designer series paper. So we are going to glue this down. Nothing that we're doing to it, nothing fancy, so we can just glue it down. And glue it right over. Again, the dimensions are on the tutorial PDF, so you can go back to that and reference it at any time. All right, so I have my stamps, and they're all gonna stick to each other, watch. Ugh. So we have the polka dot one, that's from the Cup of Christmas. We have the stripes, that one's also from the Cup of Christmas. That was tough. And then we have the stamp, the cup that has the hole in the center, and that one's from the new Rise and Shine stamp set. Okay. Oh, the other thing I did for you was I already pre-tied your bow on your baker's twine, so you're welcome. I knew you guys would like that. All right, so let's go ahead and stamp our cups, and hopefully I can get these lined up enough that we are okay. So one of the cups is going to be in Granny Apple Green. I chose my striped one to be in Granny Apple Green. So you're just going to ink that up really well. All right, here we go. We're gonna line this up over our image and stamp. Now this is a photopolymer stamp, and so if you're having a hard time getting a clear image, use your piercing mat as a platform to push down and make sure you get a nice solid image. Okay, so there's our Granny Apple Green. Now we have a Gorgeous Grape cup, so we're going to take our Gorgeous Grape ink. I used the polka dot stamp. Now you could use the checkered one or this plus sign one. If you don't have this polka dot stamp, you can do that one, and then you can also do a solid one by flipping that one over. So we'll do that so I can show you. So inking up the Gorgeous Grape, lining it up. This one's not too bad. This one's actually pretty easy to line up. Oop, I think I went way off on this one. I did, but that's okay. I like it. Okay, so then we have, I'm gonna leave this out because we do need to stamp the sentiment. The sentiment that says, make today amazing. Let's see if I can find that sentiment. Make today amazing. Here it is. So make today amazing. We did this in Gorgeous Grape. So I'll go ahead and ink that up and put it on my label here. Again, there's always 2 sides to a paper, and I screwed up on that one, so I'm gonna flip it over and do it again. There we go. I think this one's gonna be better. Yep, I like it. All right, so the next color is Melon Mambo. And we have the polka dot, not the polka dot, but the one that has the circle in the middle. So Melon Mambo ink right here. We're going to ink it up. Make sure that it's nice and covered. Take our cup, line it up, and stamp. Okay. There we go. All right. Now for the last one, this one's going to be in Coastal Cabana. I want to show you how these stamps are reversible, and they're intended to be reversed. So I'm going to take my Coastal Cabana ink. Let me get my, remember that stamp, the cup stamp that has the pluses on them? So I'm just getting a baby wipe here real quick, and I'm going to clean this stamp off. If the baby wipes will comply with me here. So let me just clean off that pink ink I had on there. And so you can flip this stamp over and stamp with it. Now, I just realized that it is the wrong direction. So I'm not going to use this one. I am going to use this one. So this one will have a circle in the middle as well, but it'll be covered up by our heart. So no big deal. So see how if I were to stamp this right now, it would be the wrong direction. All I have to do is flip it over. And now I have like a brand new stamp. It's like twice the amount of stamps. You can just flip it over and ink it up and stamp it again. So we'll just line this up as best we can. Stamp. And there you go. All right. That's all the stamping there is. And we will get that cleaned off here in a second. Okay, let's go ahead and put our card together. Super, super fun and easy. All right, so the first one I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna kind of stack them in layers. So I'm gonna do my top card, or my top cup first. I should have got a new liquid glue before I started. So I'm gonna put my top cup up here at the top. Then I'm gonna take my gorgeous grape, and that one's gonna be my second cup. Like so, just overlapping slightly. Now my Granny Apple Green one. It really is dying on me. There we go. And then last but not least, we have our Granny Apple, or I mean our Coastal Cabana. Now this one I did put on with dimensionals. Just popped it up a little bit. So let me find my dimensionals wherever they are hiding. Oh, right here. All I have left are minis. So let's go ahead and put a couple on our cup and on our handle. Peel those back. Maybe. Okay. And glue this one down to the bottom. Okay, now we have our cute little heart. Now I cut these out using the Mine stitch dies. I cut this out of the Brights Designer Series paper. And I'm just going to glue this heart right over my last cup there. And then I'm going to take my dimensionals and put them on the back of my little label. And glue that over my heart, like so. Okay, now I'm going to embellish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a glue dot to glue my little baker's twine bow right here in the corner of my coffee cup. And then I'm going to take a piercing tool and I'm going to get these little glitter enamel dots, and I'm just going to pick them up off the backing. Sometimes I can even slide them off. There we go. And just glue them down around. Glue them down around. Let's see. There's another one. I love these glitter enamel dots. They're so fun and bright. and sparkly. So then we'll just take this last one off and glue it down. And you have this super fun card, you guys. I love the colors on this card. So bright and cheerful. All right, that's project number 2. Now for the fun 3D project. This is our cup project here, our coffee cup. Again, everything is in your kit that you need. I've already done the scoring for you, but you're gonna need to do the cutting and assembling, okay? So, this is the piece of blue cardstock that you have, and I've already gone ahead and done some of the steps because I was taking pictures for my tutorial. But you're gonna have your piece of cardstock. It's already gonna be scored for you. Now there's these scores down at the bottom, and what you're gonna do is fold on the first score line, okay? And what I did was, I took, and then you'll see it in the instructions. So I have it folded over like this. So there's a score line right here. I folded it on the first score line. Now what I did to make these little indentations is I took the 3-petal flower punch. You can also use, if you have the retired envelope punch board, you could punch on all of these folds. But you're just going to take a petal punch and you're going to punch at each of these score lines. So you're going to line up the tip of your punch at the tip of the score line here. And punch, and go over here, punch again. So you're making these little openings. So what it does is creates this little flower image here. And then once you've punched all of them, make sure you start on the side. You punch even just that half piece. You punch the half piece here at the end. You're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut up each of these score lines right here just to make these little tabs. See how I've created these little tabs? Now on this last one, you're going to cut up and you're going to cut off this little side tab here. There's going to be a little rectangle side tab. Same thing here at the top. You're going to cut off this rectangle piece and just leave this little middle piece here that we're going to put tear and tape on, okay? So once you've gotten these little pieces punched and cut out, then what you're going to do is you're going to take on this crease up here at the top, you're going to fold it over and glue it down. So you can use liquid glue or you can use tear and tape. But on this edge, you want to not get it all the way to the end because we're going to slide this little tab in at the end. So my glue is dead, so I'm going to use tear and tape. I need to just throw that away. I'm going to use tear and tape instead. So I'm going to put tear and tape along this top section. And again, I'm going to leave about a 1/2 inch of space here because I want to slide my tab in. Okay. So putting tear and tape along this top edge. I'm also going to put tear and tape along this bottom edge. Okay. And we're going to pull off the backing. And pull off the backing. And then we're going to fold it in like so. And you'll see that it's not quite as long as the score line, and that's good. You want it to be a little bit less than that. Okay, now it's time to put our little cup together. So we have a piece of tear and tape here on this little tab. We're going to pick back the tab here, pick back the backing. And there's a little gap, a little opening here on this side. You're going to slide that tab in and glue it down. Okay, and that's going to make that cup shape. Oh, and one thing I forgot to do, and you probably want to do first, is glue these little panels of designer series paper down while it's flat before you put it up. I got a little excited and ahead of myself and did it in the wrong order. So now I'm going to put these on. It's not impossible if you forget. It's just a little bit harder to line it up and glue it down flat. So just putting adhesive on these little squares or little rectangle pieces that go around the cup. Okay, and one more. Okay. So the next thing you're going to do is now you have this bottom that has all these little pieces that you have to put together. I recommend using tear and tape or liquid glue for this step and gluing them together. Now there's a particular way to do this. So I'm gonna get my tear and tape and I'm gonna take one of the tabs and I'm gonna put glue across the top here. Now don't put glue in this section that has been punched. Only do it in the section that's still square. So putting 2 strips right here and just pulling back the backing here. Maybe, if it wants to cooperate. There we go. All right, now let me show you here. So you have each one has one that's across from it, directly across from it. So this one and this one are directly across from each other. So what you're going to do is take corner and corner and line them up and glue them together. Just like so. Okay, so now these two are glued together. You're going to do the exact same thing on all of these. But what I'm also going to do is add some adhesive here on top so that each section will be glued to the next section, okay? So I'm going to take this little tab, put glue on the outside. That's probably easier with liquid glue at this point, but because my liquid glue is dead, I'm going to use tear and tape. This is a good idea just to show you guys some alternative adhesives. So now I've got the tear and tape here in the center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the adhesive piece and overlap it with this opposite piece like so. And then I'm going to make sure that the pieces are glued down together on the inside. Okay, now taking the next piece, we're going to do the exact same thing, but on the last one. Okay. And then we're going to take adhesive and put it on the top of this tab here. Okay, so peel off the backing and peel off the backing. And you need to put these two sides together first so that you know how far apart to glue them to each other. And that's why I said from point to point. So from that point to that point, and then glue it straight down onto the next layer. So you can use your bone folder or something straight that you can push down inside to make sure that it's glued down really well. Okay, so now you have this cup shape. Now you kind of want to hide all of this. So you have a piece of pool party that's been cut in the 2 1/4 inch circles. You can go ahead and glue that down just to cover up all those seams. Just kind of gives it a finished look. Okay, so just center that as best you can and glue that down. And again, I'm just going to press on the inside of the cup just to make sure that all of the sides are glued down. Okay, so there is our cup form. Now, I've also cut you a piece of pool party that I used the layering circles. And so I just folded my piece in half, and now you're going to put glue on the inside. Since I don't have liquid glue, I'm going to use glue dots. I'm going to be creative and use glue dots. Now I'm going to need several just to make sure that it's glued all the way across the handle. So just fold your piece of cardstock in half. And then I put glue dots across it. So I'm going to glue the one side to the other to create my handle. And then you can use liquid glue. You can kind of flatten just to give yourself a little bit of space. You're going to flatten the ends. Now I'm going to use glue dots again. You can use liquid glue. My first one I made, I used liquid glue, but just put some glue dots here at the bottom and the top of the handle. Now I connected mine at the seam just to kind of help cover up the seam, you know, kind of take the focus away from the seams. Nobody will be able to notice. And I just glued my handle onto it. Now, obviously, if it's full of goodies, it's not going to be very sturdy of a handle, but it's mostly for looks, okay? So now you've got your handle glued on. So the last thing we're going to do is our little tag. Now we have the tag and we have a sentiment that says rise and shine, and that's in the Rise and Shine stamp set. So it's this cute little tag that fits perfectly on this little label. I took Calypso Coral ink, inked it up, and stamped the label. Okay, just like that. And that was with Calypso Coral. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my piece of baker's twine that I already put in everybody's kits, and I'm going to hold it up to the back of my label, and I'm actually going to just use a stapler and staple it to the back of my tag. So if you've ever had like a tea bag in your coffee cup or anything, you know that they staple the little tag onto the coffee or onto the tea bag. So this is just even adds to that look a little bit. So you just staple that on there, and it's going to hold that baker's twine to your tag. You can tie it around your handle. You can glue it to the top. What I did on this one is I just put a little string of little strip of tape on the inside to tape it down. This one I'll tie it to the handle so you can see the two different ways. You can also, if you put a little baggie of goodies, you could tie this around the top of the baggie of goodies and have the tag. So there's lots of different options you can do to add the tag to your coffee cup. There is no right or wrong way to do this. Okay, and then I'm just going to trim off my excess little baker's twine here at the top, and then I have my little tag. So super cute, you guys. I hope you enjoyed these projects. Of course, if you ever have questions, you know how to find me. And thank you so much for playing my first ever virtual bingo or bunco with me. I am excited to see where this goes in the future. I'll bring out the cards again so you can see them one last time. And again, you have the tutorial PDF to go along with it that has all the measurements. Okay, thank you guys. See you next month. Bye-bye.